Senator Mabina Jaffa, Mr. Don, Director of Amnesty International, Mrs. Sharon, my friend, Director of Youth Human Rights International and representative of United for Human Rights International here in British Columbia chapter. There's a lot of Mrs. Malbrine, she's sitting at the back representing UBC Intercultural Understanding. And to me, it's also a mother because she raised me. I came to Canada as a refugee student, World University Service of Canada. The people you have seen in the video, when they run in the bush, they don't stop there. They have to walk 100,000 miles. And there where you reach, you have to prove that you can capable to study in Canada or somewhere, or you are a refugee. That is called asylum. So I came here as a refugee, and when I came to UBC, UBC is my homeland. Those are the people Malbrine raised me. Mr. Peter is here also. He's right now a UBC expert in charge of refugee, representing international students and refugees. Right now he's also my godfather. He's representing Professor Peterson Glenn, who is not here. And of course the University of British Columbia President, who is the chair of World University Service of Canada, UBC. Welcome to what we decided to call human rights, constitutionalism, and electoral violence in Burundi. You're welcome, Burundian community, Africans, and all different people that I can't mention who walked from different directions, long distance. Mandela said that long walk is a big journey. When you have something, you have to take a long period of time to get it. So nice to be here, that you're gonna hear the first time to hear the stories. When people they tell the stories, sometimes changes the perception is that around. And at some point, we reconstruct the history in the best form. And then we think about the future. The video that has been showed here, my name is Yassin Chiragamisako. You have seen me maybe some of the programs, my work which I do here. I've been organizing events, several events concerning to issues about Africa, in culture, in political, in human rights. But the most important today, I stand in front of you to say that thank you so much to come here and to exchange ideas in this dialogue with our guest speaker, Senator Mabina Jaffa. Before I talk to the video, I always speak with the scenarios, and if people they don't pay attention, sometimes it becomes harder for them to understand what I'm talking about, because sometimes I use metaphors. I just want to read something here, or just a story that I want to give you here. In one of the West African countries, there were two men after independence. And one of them, he was called Chief Nanga. Chief Nanga, he grew in that West African country, very poor. He was a literate guy, but later on, because of the Western colonial education, he went to school. and got education. But the mentality of Mr. Chief Nanga, he loved African culture. And the Western culture that we are colonizing Africa at that time, when they gave us independence, Mr. Nanga was among those people who we call guerrilla warfare, with the firm mentality that I control everything. I have to keep African tradition. I stick on my tradition, I don't change. I don't adapt to any situation. That was Mr. Nanga. Nanga was sent by the colonial masters to teach one of the Igbo education. But opportunity came when the colonial masters granted independence to West African country. Nanga was appointed as the Minister of Culture. That's why I want everybody to listen this story. When Nanga get the chieftaincies and become the Minister of Culture, he was given power. He decided to go back to Igbo community where he was teaching, and he met one of his fellow students, Odili. He was a very giant, and Odili was very happy because his former teacher attained education, a job in the government, civil service. They celebrated, as you have seen in this video, they celebrated, all of them. They clapped for Mr. Nanga together with the Odili. But unfortunately, what happened? When Mr. Nanga invited Odili to go to his office to celebrate together, Odili told him that, Mr. Nanga, you are now a minister. I want you 2 things to do for me and the people of this country. We want you to cut out the price of coffee. And also, you will create a better economy in this country. Nanga said, what? Jesus, how come is that? It's impossible. But behind, Nanga looked at there as a woman, a fiancée for Mr. Odili. He said, who is that beautiful woman, by the way? Odili said, this is my fiancée. The fiancée had already heard that this is a minister. She was clapping too. They had to go together and they chased Odili back home. So the power, Odili said that, one day, one time, I will revenge. If this is how politicians act, you misuse the power, you are corrupt, immorality, I will one day leave my teaching work and then stand elections with an intention to take you out of power. Mr. Nanga went back to his office, elections comes, he went back to the village. That time he met what you call man of the people. Odili, that time was contesting against his former teacher. And Odili told his fellow citizens that you are clapping for Mr. Nanga because it's from where? From the bush. I myself am a younger generation. Look at my size. I have been trained by the colonial masters. They prepared me to lure, to take you from the promised land. But the citizen of that country, you have seen running in the bush, they replied that question to Odili that, how can you, God give you juice, morsel to drink, and then you think about living in power, if you were you? Nanga told them that, okay, one day, one time, I know a man who has been in a rainfall and get wet, and then he can't go back when he changes his clothes. He can't go back and the rainfall. I know Nanga, we have been together. He will never change. He's preaching what he's preaching, but he doesn't do what he's doing. Anyway, I've dedicated that to Senator Mobina Jaffa, who has been in this government for so long, who has experienced the stories of Mr. Nanga in Uganda, and a lot of those Burundians you have seen today. The essence this metaphor is always we elect leaders who are appetite, born in poverty families, people who had already failed to adapt to the colonial masters' ideas, democracy, human rights, and the will of the people. And then what you see, it is what you have seen today. So, as you have seen to the video, I will not analyze the video because you have already given that story. Whatever I compiled in that story, you have seen it in the video. That President Pierre Nkurunziza, he came to power through the parliament because there was insecurity in the country. But before that, there was already Arusha Code that has been already signed by Nelson Madiba Mandela. But I want to say one thing in that Arusha Code. He said that the Arusha Peace Accord will be the declaration of the rights of man in this country, Burundi, to prevent or to eradicate any forms of discrimination, injustices, hardships, and the struggle for Burundian people, but it will be the foundation of peace, democracy, and human rights. Those are the words of Nelson Mandela. President Museveni was there. He's among the survivors today. And they signed that document. President Pierre Nkurunziza later on, who was not there, he went to the bush, as I've already given in the story. But because there was respect for human rights and the Arusha Peace Accord, they invited him and they gave him power through the parliament because there was no security for the country to organize elections. But because the Arusha Peace Accord stated already that 2 terms in the office you go, another person comes. Today, President Pierre Nkurunziza, a month ago, reached at the end of his 2 terms in office. But as I was already said in the story of Mr. Nanga, he had already filled the appetite of power, the joy of power, and was unable to change his appetite. And that is what Chinua Achebe, in the story which I was reading, he recommended that there is no any man who can come to power for the first term, the second term, and want to live for the third term, unless you organize and you tell him politely that get aside, another person comes in. This is what the Burundian people are trying to do in the video you see. But when the president announced that I've already declared for this 3rd term, I'm going to run for the 3rd term, the Burundian people asked him, what about the 1st term in office? He said that I don't count that because I was not directly elected by the people representative. In political science, we call that constitutional gerrymandering. A president can steal elections 4 years before it comes arrive. When you go in election, electoral campaign had already took over the elections. So the box you are keeping here, he already cheated the elections 4 years ago. So Nkurunziza right now, what he's doing, he's not trying to get into campaign. He's trying to do what the gerrymandering, to take changing a constitution that can give him the power, divide the citizens, and then those who support him, those who doesn't support him, the constitution will decide. The moment we leave him the chance to come into, there is no chances of winning him, and that is the violation of the constitution that we have invited the Senate, an expert in that, to explain it to us today. Second, as you have seen, Burundian people said that no, we cannot. And then they decided that the only way is to go through violence means we have to speak, because it is the freedom of speech that can make the president to understand and also to raise our voice. And then the reactions from that, the media were targeted radio stations were banned, journalists sent into prison in Mimba. One of the journalists actually was one of the Burundian great journalists here is not here because he was scaring. He had already received that threats information. Most of them fled to exile. About 100 southern Burundian fled to refugee camps, neighboring countries like Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia. 70 people already shot, and the first person to face the death was just a young boy, 15 years, innocent, was killed raising his hands that I'm innocent. The president could not hear the voice of the citizen. And then the second, he was invited to Arusha Peace Accord. His fellow henchmen in the country, they were killing, fighting, killing people, shooting, using tear gas, intimidations, and a lot of other human rights violations, as you have seen there. But I want just to conclude by just a statement from human rights, great human rights founders. A man said that, I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. That was Voltaire in the French Revolution. Was challenging the power of King Louis XVI. Nelson Mandela said, no, Jimmy Jackson said that the care of human life, happiness, and not their destruction is the first and only legitimate object of a good government. That was Thomas Jefferson. Mahatma Gandhi, the inspirer of Nelson Mandela and Africans, said that you must be the change you want to see in the world. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not the one who does not be afraid, but the one who conquers the fear. That was Nelson Mandela. And finally, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So those are some of the quotes that I wanted to leave with you. That what you have seen there, and we need the voice. I know that there is a woman here who said that getting a change from me, when you buy something and you're demanding a change from me, the first thing is change your heart, change yourself. We have come here as Burundians, as Africans, to say that what is happening in Africa, in Burundi, we need a solution. And I know that at the end of this discussion, this dialogue, something has to happen. Thank you so much, the opportunity. I know that maybe it took some a little time, but next time I'll try to speak few words. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Yassin. I love listening to you. You're an archive, actually. Thank you for the inspiring words and for the commentary on the video. I want also to thank all the organizers who put together the video. There is plenty of video clips, but we couldn't play them all. But if we have some time, we may play them at the end. So we apologize for that. Now, I just wanted to invite Mr. Jean-Pierre Rukundo. I actually didn't go through reading biography of everyone. I think you will bear with me. The biography are on the agenda, on the program, so feel free to read them. But I will just say just a few words about Jean-Pierre. You won't believe this, but Jean-Pierre, when he came, I was, at that time, a settlement worker, and I supported Jean-Pierre and his family when they arrived. So it's wonderful to see the family expanding and everything really going well with his wife and children. And he's a great member and great contributor to the community, to the Burundian community and Canadian community as well. So I would let Jean-Pierre give us a background on, a brief background on why do we have this situation in Burundi. Now I don't know if I should say this. Should I say that Willie is here or not? Yeah? I see Willie Kabaya, Mr. Kabaya is here, but as I say, he prefer not to stand in front and speak. It may be that if he doesn't feel so, Yassin will briefly, I hope Yassin will be brief, talk about, I understand he could just pass on what he wanted to say to Yassin, and Yassin can express it. So it's up to how comfortable he feels. So I won't just go on and on, but I will just give the microphone to the podium to Jean-Pierre, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. So, thank you very much. Dear distinguished guests, dear representative of the Parliament, dear representative of the human rights activists, fellow Burundians, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to brief you about what is happening in Burundi. With your help and your support, I strongly believe that we can stop and prevent the mass killing coming here. Our President Pierre Nkurunziza refused to follow the ethics of democracy by seeking a third term in the office. Our Constitution states that the President should run for 5 years, renewable just one time. He has an alibi. He's saying that for the first term, he was elected by the members of the Parliament. He doesn't call it as a mandate. He said, it's like giving me a glass of water, but half full. That's what he said himself. And he disregarded it. He said, this is not a mandate, but he was there for 5 years in the office. So in this essay, I would like to emphasize on certain points, such as the genesis of the current crisis, how Pierre Nkurunziza is winning our democracy, and at the end, together we'll suggest what we can do to help our fellow Burundians and Africans in general to overcome those issues. They don't end. We have to stop it. So Burundi has 3 ethnic groups: Hutus, Tutsis, and Twa. But before the colonialists came, it was related to what they do, what kind of job they had. Tutsi were known as people who like to have cows and like farmers. And Hutu was known as people who like to be involved in agriculture. And Twa was kind of nomads going everywhere, and they like craft. And when the colonialists came, they tried to divide and to conquer. You have to find a way to be there and try to rule the country. So they decided to cement those divisionist ideas, and that's how we came, how we end up being like enemies without really knowing why we're doing this. Because before the period of pre-colonial period, we didn't have any problem. After the independence in 1962, Burundi has experienced numerous difficulties. This country has suffered from conflict, corruption, poor access to education. This is a main point. You know, when we have 90% or 80% of our population, they don't even know how to write. So it's easy to tell them what to do than let them think what to do. On the top of that, our young youth, they have been going abroad to seek other opportunities. Probably that's why I'm here, that's why everyone is here, because there is no way out if you don't follow what the chief is saying. The Burundian Civil War from 1993 to 2005, the most prominent of this conflict in Burundi dragged over at least 15 years. Burundi's long stretch of instability has made its developmental situation more complicated. In 2000, the Arusha Peace Accord was signed. It was backed by United States, Nelson Mandela, Julius Nyerere. It provided a framework and the end of the violence and the power sharing, because they had decided that power must be shared between those groups to avoid any problem ahead. However, Peter is ruining our democracy by refusing any way to share the power. Peter Nkurunziza is interested in power than serving the Burundian people. Despite of a particularly inclusive constitution that creates ethnic quota for the distribution of army chiefs, MPs, and civil service jobs, he has managed to alienate a large part of the country by centralizing power around the presidency and distorting the political landscape to marginalize the opposition. We have a lot of parties, but he tried to divide them. If they are 30, now they are 60, but same name. And then they can't do anything because one doesn't have a license, and another one has a license. Nkurunziza's refusal for play by the rule of democracy game is disappointing, but not surprising. Even since he came to power in 2005, he sent the FDD, it's his party. Government has gone further and further down the path toward a dictatorship. He's really, really, really powerful in doing such thing. And I can say he doesn't have rumors. He can kill anyone he wants, anytime, and he would go to the TV and say, Burundian, I love you. Now he is at the end of his second term, which is considered as the last one. In fact, President Nkurunziza's first attempt to get his third term in the office came in 2014. He tried to change the constitution. Our first sentence in our constitution states that according to the Arusha Peace Accord, that's the first sentence. That means everything that is in the constitution, it's from the Arusha Code, the Peace Accord, and they add other things for sure. But he tried to change that sentence. That means everything above, down, nothing. We have to disregard it. But he couldn't pass the bill because the whole parliament, they were against that, and he didn't pass. But he said, through his foreign minister, one of his ministers, he said, there is a way out. Even though you refused, the parliament, I still have the constitutional court. And it will be the last, and we can't go, there's no other appearance. That will be the last. In fact, that's what he did. Recently, he was appointed by his party in April 25. And after 2 days, they sent the request to the Constitutional Court to approve it, and they did it. But one of the members ran away because they were really threatened to death. And he spoke to one of our media there that he can go on, he can support the president because what he's doing is anti-constitutional. For many months, civil society, the media, opposition, and the Catholic Church as well, the international community, have been warning against a third term for Nkurunziza. On that date, April 25, he announced, and he said, they have been asking me to talk about my envy to run for the third term. Now I'm bringing it up. So they would have to be ready or find them a coffin. So that means if you want to fight, you have to buy your own coffin. So the president has given up on changing the constitution for sure, and instead has determined to flout it. Under great pressure, the Constitutional Court recently declared that the president could stand again in the office, and because they said he was appointed by the parliament. However, that idea that Ali B has not really credibility, even a bit, because those who signed the peace accord, they still alive, they are there. Jacob Zuma, from the president of the South African country, he was there. Bill Clinton was there. The whole community was there. So that's why around the world, everybody's speaking out, because they know what they signed. And deeply from his heart, he knows that what he's doing is not really right. Because I don't understand why back then he tried to change the constitution while he knows that he has the right to do it. Yet, rather than seeking to defuse the situation, the ruling party has responded by further entrenching existing divisions. Now he's trying to bring those divisions back because he's saying this group, this ethnic doesn't want me to run because he's a Hutu. And he's saying that Tutsis are trying to put barriers everywhere. But in his own party, 60% or 80% of his members, they are against him. In order to achieve that horrible, I can call it horrible goal, the government blocked social media. As he said, they burned even the office, they burnt everything. They don't have equipment anymore. They can't broadcast no more. His Minister of Security took the media to claim that these demonstrations provide cover for a terrorist enterprise. He added that from now on, the demonstrators would be treated as criminals, terrorists, and even enemies of the country. Up to now, 77 young protesters. I think we will have another opportunity to watch what is happening. They have been shot. 500 people are laying in the hospitals. 1,000 protestants have been jailed. As a human being, we thought that this last category of people should attract our attention. As a matter of fact, during armed conflict, one can easily be hit by a bullet, even without being part of the conflict. Therefore, we call upon of you to think about these people in hospital and contribute by any means to clearing the hospital bills. Burundi has no universal health care system. Families, friends, they have to contribute to pay a bill from the hospital. And I would like to add something is really touched to me, probably to you too. I don't know if you know that in hospitals we have jail, small cells, small room where they put those who didn't pay. So they can be jailed there for months and even years. It's kind of putting pressure on families to collect that money. So according to what is happening now, I'm thinking that the government won't dare to pay or to release those young protesters. They will be there, they might not get a good treatment, and the death will follow. And he doesn't mind. So we will be planning, we will be doing fundraising, but we don't know when yet. We would like really to help those young kids. They don't have any way out, kind of. Today is the first meeting, but we are planning to do other meetings, fundraising. We're trying to organize ourselves. As I speak, I was telling Senate that some of the high member of our government, they're running away. They're running away. We have a vice president. Now he's not in the country, and he has spoken. He said, I can't keep supporting somebody who is not really doing what he's supposed to do. So that's why we are here. We should think about these people and try to bring up some solutions. And he needs to be removed. That's what I can say. Because he came to power, he was elected. He fought, I agree, but he didn't size anything. Burundian said, we can't keep fighting. We should sit down and try to find a common ground. It's what we did. But now, he's bringing up other alibis to stay in the office, and people are dying, and at all costs, he wants to stay. That's why we need to do what we can do to try to convince everybody can do something and remove him. And then Burundian can choose another one who cares about them. I would like to mention that here, people who are here, who decide to come here, we do have a family there, families there. So the way things are there, last night, a journalist's mom, they attacked her house because of her daughter. It's unbelievable. So that means we can't say, oh, I'm afraid, or we have to stand up, regardless what can happen to my mom, to my family there, but we have to do something. Thank you for paying attention to me.